Well, everybody, a warm good afternoon and welcome from Kaleo. We're in the Koa Bokkerveld, which is just outside Ceres. It's in the Klein Karoo part of South Africa. It's about 2.5 hours northeast of Cape Town, if you're trying to put that into context. And my name's Dave McLeod. It's a great pleasure to be with you as we start the first of 4 days of live streaming, as we take a new step as the Tankwa just gets bigger and better every year. Sitting with me is Darren Lill, who's done a couple of these things and is now, you've got so many balls in the air at the moment. You're somebody who's raced this race really well. Now you're seconding, and you're going to give us a perspective over this brand new fourth stage of the Tankwa Trek. I mean, you're familiar with this race, but this fourth stage, not a prologue, it's actually a full stage, but it's something it's a whole new thing. It's quite hard to get your head around, isn't it?
Yes, Dave, it's a really exciting new addition to the event. I was fortunate to be able to go and ride it yesterday evening, and they've done a fantastic job at Tankwa. The guys have created some fantastic single tracks, and I think we're going to see some exciting racing today.
Okay, the big thing is it's new. I mean, I was watching the riders briefing an hour ago, and they asked people to put up hands who's actually ridden this track before, and there were 10 of the field of about 600 odd that are going to be starting it. So it's new for everybody. How technical is it? How much homework do you need to do to really be good at it?
I think that, with mass racing like this, there's only so technical that they can make it as an event, and still be safe for general riders. But I think they've struck a good balance. There's some actually really fast-flowing sections where you can gather a lot of speed, and if you're not watching out, the penalty could be high.
Now, the other thing is, there was big rain here about a week ago, but it's been really hot. Just to put this in context, when we say this is the Koa Bokkerveld, there's nothing cold about the Bokkerveld today, because the temperature is 41, 42 degrees. And as somebody who's just come in has said, when it's been baking in the sun all day, it's probably hotter, because a lot of the racing is through these gaps and these rock formations where it's like driving into an oven.
It really is. It's one of the hottest days I've experienced in quite a while. And actually on the way here, Annie Last, who's riding with Candice for Summit, she had an issue with her rear brake. It was basically had a bit too much fluid in it, and the brake fluid's expanding in the heat, and we had some last minute stress on the line trying to sort that out for her.
Is that all heat related?
Yes, the brake fluid starts expanding, and basically the brake pads were touching and binding on the rotor.
Okay, now we see shots of A-Batch in the chute ready to go. It's a 3 o'clock start down here. I mean, wherever you're watching us in the world, thanks for joining us on the live stream. It's a really cool addition. I mean, we experimented with the live stream over one stage last year, and we've decided to bolt it on to all 4 days. So greetings wherever you are as we get ready for the release of A-Batch on stage 1 of this year's Momentum Health Tankwa Trek presented by Biogen. Now, it's 29 Ks, which is going to be short by stages. What's the mindset? How are people looking at 29 Ks as a first stage, not a prologue?
I think it's, from a racing perspective, it's going to be fast and furious. There's a lot of fast teams here, a lot of cross-country kind of riding, and I think the marathon guys are going to perhaps struggle with such a short, fast stage. And I think for the rest of the field, it's going to just be about heat management, making sure they take on enough fluids. If they're going to be out there for more than an hour and a half to 2 hours, some of the back markers, and you can dehydrate a lot, and that carries over to tomorrow's stage.
100%. You've also got to realize that there's a bigger picture at stake here. A lot of people are out here prepping for Epic, and the last thing you want to do is ride yourself into a hole and then have a recovery problem in a relatively short space of time.
That's exactly it. This is a fantastic stepping stone towards Epic, not just for the pros, but for your average riders as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why this race is so well supported. And yeah, I think just it's such a well-balanced event all around, and at the right time of the year, and fantastic scenery, fantastic organisation, fantastic food. I don't know what more you could ask for.
So this is Kaleo, where we're waiting for the start of the A-Batch. That A-Batch is loaded with some absolute rock stars from the world of mountain biking. It's amazing how this event in 7 years has built up such a reputation that it's pulling such an incredibly strong field.
It really has. I mean, looking at the lineup, I think this is possibly one of the best fields to date, and definitely it's gained huge popularity with the international riders using this as part of their groundwork towards Epic, and in a way it's perfect race prep for them.
Your guess for 29 Ks, there's about 400 meters of climbing in it. Are we looking at an hour?
I think possibly just under an hour. I rode it fairly slowly yesterday. It's hard to gauge how much faster it'll be, but I reckon just under an hour.
So there they go. There's A-Batch underway. That's all your seeded men down there. Now the significant thing here is they're taking off on farm roads here, and I believe the first, you must help me out here, the first 7 or 8 Ks are basically on farm roads.
It really is. It's going to be fast and furious. Lots of opportunity to shuffle for position in the first 6 or 7 Ks, I would say. There's 1 or 2 short pieces of single track. I think the first one comes at about 5 Ks. and another one at 7Ks, and up until about 11.5Ks is where you hit your first proper A-frame, and after that it's pretty much mainly single track from there to the line.
And it's all pretty new, and I heard that there's a whole bunch of new bridges as well. The farmers, this is basically a work of love from the local farmers. I mean, they're all riding nuts. I don't think none of them are particularly good, but they're just passionate about the game. They've built all the single track. They head out there with their spades between their harvesting times. They've built the single tracks, and there are a lot of new bridges.
There are a lot of new bridges, and Dave, as you mentioned, an event like this wouldn't be what it is without the support of the local farmers. And they've done a fantastic job, and I know, as you said, it's a labour of love. They're passionate about the sport, and a lot of them put their own time and money into maintaining these trails and developing new trail networks.
So it looks like Cannondale jerseys out in the front there early on. That they're going to be significant. What we're going to do over the hour is we're going to unpick these teams, and I'm just going to get your call on it. You've raced against a lot of these guys, and you can give us a view. The big thing for me is there are 6 black bull jerseys somewhere in there. That is going to be like an ogre that hangs over this whole race.
It's always nice to have numbers, to be able to try and dominate the front of events. So to have 3 teams in the race like Team Bulls does, it's a big help. They are up against some very fast teams like the Cannondale Factory Racing guys, and the Specialized guys. There's so many fast teams here looking at the lineup that. Yes, even though they might have the edge in numbers, it doesn't mean that they've got the race in the bag by any stretch.
Okay, this is closer to home. Here go the ladies. Okay, give us a call and watch. It's a slightly smaller bunch, but I think this is going to be a very competitive race.
It definitely is. There's at least 6 solid ladies teams in this lineup, all competitive, and in a short, fast stage like today, I think we're going to see very close time gaps between them, and it'll be difficult to pick a winner, actually.
Let's get this out of the way early. Candice is racing with a stand-in partner, not actually an epic partner.
Yes, Candice is racing with Annie Last from Great Britain. She's come on board. Candice was initially going to race with Adelaide Morath, who unfortunately couldn't make it out to be here before Epic at this point. So yeah, I think Annie's a great option as well, and I think her and Candice's riding styles are going to complement each other. And looking forward to seeing how they race together. We'll find out today. It'll be their first time out racing together.
I've got to ask, it must be a culture shock for her. I don't know how long she's been here, but I'm sure she hasn't ridden in 42 degrees before.
Yeah, I think that Annie's been here for about 2 weeks now, but today's by far the hottest day, I think, in the last while, so we'll see how she does.
What's the mindset on it? Is it going easy today, no mistakes, stretch the legs, settle down?
No, I think, you always want to make time where you can in a mountain bike stage races, and even if it's just to get a psychological edge over your competition, and if you see an opportunity to hurt the other teams and take some time, you definitely want to capitalize on that.
So at 30Ks, I mean, anybody can expect, one, you don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to land up with a technical or to crash out here, but there is an opportunity just to lay down a marker here saying, we're here, we mean business, and to take a psychological head start into tomorrow.
Yes, and you've got to play to your team's strengths, and I think, different teams have different strengths, and some teams may be stronger at climbing or open road pedaling and that, and other teams may be better at the technical aspects, and to try and play your cards right and be in the front and dictating the pace on the terrain that suits you as a team is really important.
Well, there's the whole of the men's bunch all sticking together on the road as they go past the dams here. It looks fairly barren here, but for those of you that are looking for some info on the area, this is one of the most important farming areas in South Africa. It's a rugged place. I mean, it's a really harsh place, but if you're sitting watching this from France or Germany or the Netherlands or something like that, there's a fairly good chance that apple or that peach that you've got sitting on in the tray in your kitchen came out of this very area. It's a thriving farmland, but that bunch is all tightly bunched, and you would want to try and break that up a bit before you get into the single track, which is not far away.
No, it's not far. I'm pretty sure that most of these top men's contending teams have gone and looked at this course, if not the whole course, at least the first bit, and they'll know where they need to be on the front and when they want to be on the front. And I think in the next 5 to 10 minutes we'll see quite a big fight for that first single track.
Okay, and generally, how does riding from yesterday? Was it dusty? Was it sketchy? Is it?
It's dry out there. I know you mentioned last weekend there was some rain. I think the last 3-4 days of hot dry conditions has dried that straight back out, and it's quite fine, powdery, dusty. There's some super sandy sections actually out on course towards the last third of this track, and it'll be interesting to see how the guys go down there.
Okay, well, we're going to take some time to pick them apart, but we're also not going to neglect the fact that this is a sold-out field. There's 600-odd riders that have come down here for the event, and B-Bash is sitting waiting, locked and loaded in the shooters. There we go. There's the front punch. Is starting to straight. They're putting down the pressure here to try and stretch that out. Are we on to the first bit of single track there?
No, not quite.
No, not
They're
quite.
just hitting a couple of turns where it bunches up and then lines out as guys jostle for position and look for the best line going through the turns. From what I can see, they're going to start going up one of the first small drags, and thereafter probably another K or so until they turn right into a single track.
One big climb in the day, more or less, isn't there?
Yes, about halfway through there's, I would say, a series of fairly challenging, not super steep climbing, but just quite loose and line picky. And as you can see on the profile here, there's some fairly long drags up to about 11 Ks, and then from about 15 Ks to 16.5 Ks, I would say that is the hardest point of the course. Not so much in gradient, but definitely just like loose, picky terrain, some sandy sections, and you just got to be quite specific about what line you're going to be taking.
And that descent down to the 20K mark.
That's where all the fun is. They've got some proper sandy sections there, some nice berms, and you can carry a lot of speed. Hopefully we'll get some good footage of the guys going down there and the women going down there, and really be able to showcase these guys' skill.
There was a warning about a little rocky ledge drop off at some stage that you don't want to come into too hot.
There are a couple of sections that could definitely catch you by surprise if you're coming in too hot, and hopefully it doesn't happen to any of especially the back markers. You get some guys who are pretty good and pretty fast, and if they haven't had a chance to check the course, there's one or two sections that could catch you out.
It's actually such an important shot. There's the dam in the background here. For anybody that's familiar with what's going on in this country, South Africa is in the middle of what they call a green drought at the moment. All the crops are growing, but the reality is that our water supply reservoirs are desperately low. The Western Cape's had it for 5 years now. They've eased the water restriction, but it doesn't mean the problem has been solved. And the shot of that dry dam in the background it's Koa Bokkerveld farming. That's what the reality is. But South Africa is a water scarce country, and it's been very dry. And you'll find all over the country this phenomenon of the green drought, and the extension of the El Nino, La Nina phenomenon is very real. From a mountain biking point of view, it just means we're going to have a lot of hot, dry, dusty racing conditions. Let's get a look at what's going on there. I saw one of the Bulls guys going to the front there, but again, trying to get that pack a little bit thinned out before they get into the single track.
Yes, I think they're pretty close to that first single track now. I think that it possibly looked like either Albin Lecata or Carl Platt that was on the front. It was a bit difficult to see the picture because it was a bit grainy there. But Dave, as you were mentioning about the green drought, at least compared to last year, it's nice to see that there actually is some water in those dams. Last year, this area was completely dry, and it's been nice to see the change this year, that we're in a slightly better situation than we were before.
Now we're winding around some of the orchards, and already the field is starting to string out.
They're about to, in a short bit, they're going to hit the first single track to the right.
And it looks like the Cannondale riders are laying down the law, or was that the Parker Eurosteel colours in the front there? It's so hard to pick out with this chopper shot. Just as a matter of context here, I just want to play a quick credit to the guys that are putting this chopper into the sky. Anybody who flies a chopper when it's over 40 degrees heat is asking for some serious skill sets, and they're out there. It's aggravated by the fact that in these weather conditions with a slight wind blowing, the signal is not that great. But we're committed to bringing you this live stream, and I've got to say they're hitting it out of the park already, because this is a treat to be able to follow these guys down this bit of track.
Yes, they've done the first short piece of single track, which we missed. It was a very short piece, but this is quite a bit of dual track. You want to kind of decide. Looks like most of the guys are choosing for the left-hand line, and you can see how it's spread out and thinned out the field. And what you want to be aware of if you're racing in the pros like these guys, you don't want to be caught too far back in that, because you get quite a yo-yo effect where you're losing like a few seconds out of each turn and then having to sprint each time to close it back down again.
Okay, so we're sitting with the B-Batch guys that are waiting to do it. Then we go down to D-Batch that are the starters here. It's quite significant just hanging out in the village here at Kaleo that there are a lot of people that see it as a technical challenge. They're not fit. They're proper weekend warriors. But for them, this is a proper demand. It's a proper testing 4 days of riding now.
It really is. I mean, this is... I think many a person's underestimated this event. I know a couple of people personally who are pretty good riders naturally, and have thought they could come here without any training, because they're pretty strong naturally, and it's caught them by fair surprise. And especially what's now going to be day 3 up the Merino Monster. it's a day to watch out for.
I guess if you've got through these 4 days without putting your bike down at any stage, you've done well.
Yeah, I think you've done well. I think as we've mentioned, it's a good tester for Epic, and I think if you can make it through this and make it through in good shape, both technically and physically, you're on a good path towards Epic.
Okay, we were picking apart that men's batch. Now you got guys like Manny Fumic in here. You got Cole Platt. I mean, these guys are legends in the game. They're all here. First of all, it's amazing to see them so chilled. I see they're probably more chilled at this race than you'll see them at any other big event, which is really cool.
I think there's not as much pressure here as at a lot of events, and I don't know, I think a lot of that maybe filters through from it comes all the way from the race organization and things like that, where you go to a race like Epic and everyone just is feeling the pressure at Epic, and it's considered the biggest stage race in the world, and so much like media hype and pressure for contracts, future contracts and things are based off the back of Epic, whereas the guys know that they can come here, test their metal, but also have fun and just use it as a sounding board, but it's not like the absolute be and end all. So I think it just takes that slight edge off.
It is a dress rehearsal though. I was chatting to some of the guys. They've got their Epic gear here. They're literally putting it through their paces in race conditions.
Definitely. I mean, whatever gear you're wanting to be using at Epic, you should be testing that now, especially if guys are using prototype stuff, whether it's tires or suspension or anything like that, wheels and things. You want to put it through its paces at an event like this, and know for sure that it's going to be solid and sound for Epic.
Okay, we managed to catch up with a bunch of the guys before they got into their riding gear and got set for today's stage 1. So let's catch up with some of the guys and how they were feeling about the race generally and going into stage 1 with 42-degree heat, and then I'll pick you for your opinion afterwards.
I mean, I'm really excited to be back here. This place is really incredible. Last afternoon, when we got here, I got so excited to face this race again. It's a nice challenge, early season. It's a really important piece of preparation for the season, but we also take it really seriously. So I'm really looking forward to start racing this afternoon. Yeah. I mean, it's a really strong field. I would say even stronger than last year. Which is nice, Tankwa it's setting as one of the main stage races worldwide, and a really good a pre-show for the Cape Epic, the last real preparation for the Cape Epic in terms of racing. So I think this is quite attractive to many international riders, and for us it's really nice to face such a strong field, and I think racing this year it's going to be really, really interesting. I mean, I always love to get back to places where I didn't do well or something happened. I think this is something nice as a rider, to go back to the place and face it again. Last year, unfortunately, after day 1, in between day 1 and day 2, Manny had some back issues. Was quite a serious injury in the end, and he had to pull out just after the start of day 2. I just decided to use the race as a preparation, and also to know the course, because I mean it was on our mind to get back here this year. So I think it's good to know the course, and it's a good advantage, I would say.
Oh, we don't know what to expect. There are a lot of internationals that are going to be racing at this event, and it is quite an event where we're testing ourselves at the beginning of the season and seeing our strengths and where we fit going into the bigger races that are coming up. So this is a real good tester. I know that there are at least 5 really competitive elite ladies teams that are here. So yeah, we're going to try and slot somewhere in the middle there, hopefully for a podium. So Tankwa is known to be up there as one of the hardest races and really challenging. It's got a really rugged terrain and rocky descents and amazing single track. So it's up there, it's one of the hardest events, and I know that stage 3, which used to be stage 2, is the Marina Monster, and this race is known for that climb. And that climb is always testing to see if your legs are going to be able to do the amount of climbing that's coming up for the rest of the year.
Well, my role kind of between the two of us is to show T the smooth lines. That's the whole thing. And T's been working a lot on her single track skills. And we're going to be fast no matter what. So I'm excited this year really to be fast on the uphills and the downhills. Yes.
It's been going quite very well. I mean, a massive change from development into a pro level. a massive progress that I've been seeing. It's a massive big step that I've been through, and quite looking forward to see how far can I go. On the early years, it was not easy, but on this years, it's becoming much better and better. I mean, they never get too faster. They're becoming almost. I tend to catch up in all the riding that they're doing. So it's a massive opportunity that we get. I tend to see a lot of followers that they following me up and like to hear a lot about me. And it's becoming a lot of big change. I mean, in the community, stepping up as a cyclist, and a lot of people that used to know people like playing soccer, you only see them on TV, and coming myself and being part of them and helping a lot of them to how to ride a bike. It's a massive change, I'll be honest, in the community. Last year was the first time, and blew very badly before the Marinia Monster. And looking forward to this year, I mean, quite more confidence about it and knowing exactly what to expect and know how to pace it up until to the finish.
Such a cool guy, actually, because he's becoming, whether he likes it or not, he's becoming such a hallmark figure in mountain biking. And you just want to see him getting better and better. He's one of those guys that you will to succeed.
Philemon, he definitely is a fantastic guy, and he's always up for a good little bit of banter, and he's always positive, and just loves riding his bike, works really hard, and it's great to see him.
Other guy that you talk about being a sort of an icon figure, look at Henry there, somebody who in his country is an absolute trailblazer. And I mean, we know it in this country from what Barry Stander did in his early days, and he just became the guy that broke down all the barriers and kicked the doors down and said, we're here as a country. He's doing the same sort of thing.
Yes, he really is, and it's fantastic to have him here out racing in South Africa, and to have a world champion out here, it's gives our youngsters something to look up to and to see where he's come from, and maybe in a country that's mountain biking is not such a big sport, or there's not so much finance put into it, like let's say like football or something like that. It's just something to inspire to and to encourage youngsters, I think. Here it looks like. The picture.
We're in the single track then. It's going to be such a challenge over these next 4 days to try and pick out who's who from the jerseys, from the chopper shot there. But they're well and truly into that single track, and it's starting into a climb there by the looks of it as well.
Yes, it does. This looks like possibly Sam Gaze and one of the Cannondale factory racing guys, but the picture quality is not quite.
Well, you've gone there with Sam Gaze, Alan Hatherley, under 23. We talked about guys who are kicking the doors of the bar down, saying we're arrived. I mean, there are two guys that have really caught the imagination of the mountain biking public all over the world. Alan obviously is already like a legend status here since he got his world championship, but that combination with Sam is going to be an interesting one.
I think it's a very strong combination. They're both world champions from coming from the under 23 ranks, and hungry, young, enthusiastic cyclists. Both, I think, quite similar riders in terms of technical ability and strengths in the single tracks and on the technical downhills. And when you're young, you can also be quite gung ho and you're willing to take a few risks. So. Yeah, I think it'll be exciting to see how they unfold over the next few days. I think this is their first time racing together as well. Obviously, they know each other, but I think their first time racing together as a team, and it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic works.
I think this course is really going to suit the guys who excel in exco environments?
I think so. I think, there's, the great thing about the Tankwa is there's just so much varied terrain, and it'd be hard to pick a team or a winner. There's sections where like the marathon guys can make a count, and there's sections definitely where the XCO guys can make a count, and I think it's gone as exciting racing.
Well, we're talking about the South Africans here while we're going to bias ourselves in favour of the locals. The Paga Eurosteel team, Base Biogen, came here last year and made a very strong statement.
Yes, I mean, Philip and Matthijs, both fantastic riders. Also, a very well-balanced team. So very similar riding styles. Raced against them many times, and I think their style of riding is suited to this race, and I think there's a good chance for them to be on the podium today if they're firing on all cylinders.
Deadpan guys on the bike. They don't give away much, do they?
No, they're the kind of guys that they are quite quiet, and it doesn't look like they give away much, but once you get to know them, a great pair.
Okay, well, let's go into those Bulls jerseys, because we talked about the 6 riders, so let's unpack them for a start. Carl Platt, Albin Lakata. probably the scariest team on paper at the moment. They've got such different histories coming into this race. Carl's had you could write a book about what's happened to him over the last 2 or 3 years. But coming into this race, give me a read on them.
Look, I mean, Carl and Alban, it's just so much experience between the two of them. Again, you don't know until you race with someone how it's going to work out and how you're going to work together as a team. You can't just take, what it says on paper and, past pedigree. But, yeah, both really solid riders and heaps of experience. And I think it'll be interesting to see who takes the leadership role there and how they work together as a pair. But I think very similar style of riding, similar build riders, and I think on certain terrain they're going to be a proper force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, proper. Carl Platt is Mr. Stage Race. That comes up over and over again. Let's just take a moment to catch up with Carl and how he was feeling going into today's stage.
Yeah, for us it's like a new chapter because I have a new teammate. It's Alban Lakata joining the Bulls team, and we know each other quite well, and but now it's still a new situation. We are not rivals anymore. We are friends, and we're riding together, and it's the first really good test for us. To see how it works together, but I'm pretty sure it will work pretty nice. Yeah, we are super excited. Definitely I prefer the heat or racing in the warm, so I don't like the cold or the rain. I like snow, but racing definitely in the heat. Yeah, the situation has changed. Simon and Urs, they are not the backup team anymore. They're racing for themselves, and we're racing for ourselves. And we have Simon Schneller. He's for us as a backup, and so I think we are in a very comfortable situation, and we can race like we want. So it's going to be really exciting, I think. I've been coming to this race for many years, and I really loving this race because the terrain it suits to me, and the sun, the trails are nice people, really awesome people, and the whole atmosphere is really on a really nice level and super enjoyable. So the race, looking forward to the epic. It's racing in the same terrain. We've been already racing here with the epic, and it's a really good test, but for every team. So the field is really big now, and everyone is taking this chance. And but also, if you win this race, it means a lot to us now. Yeah, I'm 40, but it doesn't feel like. In my brain, I feel still like 18 or 20. So stupid as I am. No, but definitely racing is still fun, and I can't really say that I feel that old.
Darren, your point is such a good one. I'd love to see who's going to call the shots in that. That's a relatively new combo between two super experienced riders.
I think so. I mean, it was interesting to hear Carl mention that they've given Us and Stevie free rein, so to speak, as well as instead of being a backup team, and I think that's fantastic. I know that Stevie's been behind the scenes and behind a lot of successful races that Carl's been able to put together as a backup rider, and I think it's nice for the youngsters to finally be given a chance, and for him to be able to ride with someone like Us. I think they're going to be a super strong combination as well, and I think there could definitely be challenges this weekend.
And the workhorse team that they pulled in as their third team, Schneller and Frey? Do you know much?
I know Martin a little bit. I don't know Simon. So I'm not quite sure how they'll ride together. But as Carl mentioned, they will be the backup team, and it'll be interesting to see if they are going to give a wheel to both Carl or Us's, which team specifically they're backing up, or if they back up for both both the Bulls 1 and 2 teams. Maybe we'll get an opportunity to see that this weekend.
I know there's definitely a job for them to do, and I'm thinking back to last year when the wind became a factor. I mean, there's a domestic job that you've just got to get out there and do for the team.
So we're with the ladies now. It looks like Candice and Annie on the front, with Barbara Benko and Anna in second, and Jenny Stennerhaug, by the looks of it, moving up on the right-hand side there. Just want to get a gauge of where they are. It looks like they started that drag that goes up towards where one really first enters the proper single tracks. It looks like they're having to work pretty hard at the moment, and it looks like some gaps are forming off the back of that group already with other ladies' teams.
Yeah. Interesting time, and I guess there's a tension in the bunch at that stage because for the first time you're testing and pushing.
Definitely, and then there's quite a few new partnerships as well with the ladies. Looking at Ariane riding with Sherry Redeker. That's going to be an interesting combination. And Jenny Stenhag and Mariska, although they did race Wine to Wales together at the end of last year, this will be the first time I think that they're really racing in action, I suppose. With I think at the end of last year, Jenny was still struggling with a bit of an injury, so it'll be interesting to see how their team dynamics play out here as well.
Well, it's 7 on the front bunch already. Somebody's been shaken off the back there, so it's going to be an interesting day. The course does almost a loop back to the start back down here at Kalia and then heads out in the opposite direction.
Yes, they've already passed that point by now, so they'll be heading out on the bigger loop, so to speak, at the moment.
Okay, and then there's one watering point on the day.
There's one water point at 15 kilometers, as well as a neutral tech zone. So it's neutral for everyone, including the pro riders. No one is allowed to send spares or wheels or anything to that. So if they have an issue and they want to stop and sort it out, they can stop it. They would basically be on their own steam.
42 degrees. How much fluid do you carry with you on the race? How many bottles? I mean,
I know that Candice and Annie started with 2 each. I don't know what the rest of the field would have done, but it's super hot out there, and it would have been nice to be on the start line with an ice cold bottle for sure.
I'm just checking you're not getting sort of FOMO that you're not out seconding. Eh?
I don't have that much FOMO that I'm not out there in this heat. I must say I'm not a fan of the heats. I don't know why, being South African, but I've always preferred the cold, and a lot of my best races were in the cold.
The South African mountain biking scene just dovetails beautifully into the European winter, and I think that's one of the reasons why you've got Ernst, Carl, Manny, these sort of people coming out here and making a habit of their winter being in our summer.
Yes, and I mean, I want to say almost especially the Germans. I mean, there's so many Germans in the men's lineup, even though they're on different teams and that. But the Germans seem to love South Africa, and they love South Africans, and I think you even see it in the tourist numbers and that. You see a lot of Germans out here, and I think it's convenient for them. There's no time change, just the benefits of the weather change, and it's quite affordable for them to come to South Africa. So I think the same as has worked into the mountain bike circles over the last decade or so, and South Africa has become really a popular destination for people doing pre-season training and wanting to avoid the snow.
The one thing the guys also say is it's probably rough African mountain biking. There's nothing groomed. They like it rough and ready.
Yes, I actually had a discussion with Candice yesterday when we were riding the course. The fantastic thing about this event is that you're not riding like super groomed trails. They've used the natural terrain, the natural rocks and roots and whatever else is going, and they've built trails around that. But it's really natural and in places quite rough riding. And they've built bridges here and there where they've had to, but otherwise it's just natural, and it's fantastic, as you can see from the shot.
Sweeping descent through the rock formations there, man, that's rad. You're not going to find that in many other places in the world. Whereabouts are we there, Darren?
This is, I would say they've already gone a fair way down that first single track that I was talking about. So I'm going to say they're almost at the 15k point, these lead men, and it looks like a Cannondale factory race, and probably Manny Fumick on the front, followed by what looks like Sam Gaze. And we can't see who's in front.
Manny looking over his shoulder. And that's the vehicle that's bringing it all to us. So you talked about that Carl Platt Alban Lakata combination, how untested it's going to be, who's going to be flexing, who's going to be tucking in behind. So we had a chat to Carl. Let's catch up with the other half of that just as we go through these amazing rock formations that are the signature part of this race. But let's give us a read on the rest of the bunch here.
So that was actually Enrique on the front, and Sam Gaze behind him, and Manny's in third place. So as a team, Cannondale Factory Racing looking in a very solid position. As you can see how long the single track goes on for a really long way. There's not much overtaking opportunity. Once they pop out, actually that looks like Sam and Alan there, so I don't know who the other Specialized rider is in the front. Well, that actually is probably Sam.
It's Sam at the front and Alan behind him, isn't it?
Yes. So once they come out of the single track, and you can see, how natural it is and how much rock formation they've got to work over and around. Once I come out of here, there's a couple of overtake sections, but not easy.
Whoa.
Not easy riding. That looks like Stevie and Is it Geisenmeyer maybe behind him? I'm not actually sure from this angle.
And in 42 degrees, they're certainly not holding back. This is an opportunity here. I think it's one of the Pioneer Eurosteel guys at the front.
So they look like they're probably in a chasing group at this point. If the helicopter zoomed out, we'll be able to see a bit better.
I've got to say, we've got Paul Kay in one of the helicopters. So what I'm hoping for is that he might be wired into our comms and, one, listen to us, and two, maybe just throw in a bit of commentary here. Paul, get in here. Paul is actually, he's absconded his duty in the chopper. I must say, if you ever see, get in here, you Muppet. Get in here, you Muppet. Come sit in the middle here, because Paul is somebody you'll be very familiar with. But if you ever see anybody flying around in a chopper with a big, fat, big red and white L on the back, it's probably you. But we were just looking at the chopper flying here. It takes a certain skill set to get out there and manage that.
It's a huge skill set because at the moment we're very high. We're sitting at over 3,300 feet. You have a thing called density altitude you've got to deal with. Plus it's very, very hot, and the heat also makes the air thinner. So the thinner the air, the less oxygen, the less power the engine produces. So it makes it very, very challenging flying. But I'd rather be in the chopper than on the ground riding.
Okay, Darren, what are you seeing at the front there? There's some work happening there.
It looks like Enrique is really putting the hammer down with Manny's now. Trying to get close back to him. Obviously, Enrique will know where Manny's at and be managing that gap, not to ride away too far. And it definitely looks like, I think is that Sam Gaze in
Manny
third
into second,
place?
Sam Gaze into third.
And I don't know who we've got. Maybe Maxim Marat or someone in fourth place there.
And they've managed to put a bit of space between themselves and the rest of the chasing pack.
They definitely have the CFR guys. I know they went and previewed the course, and they'll know where to put the hammer down and make it count. And it looks like they're really opening up some gaps on the rest of the field. Realistically, in a short stage like this, the gaps aren't going to be too huge at the line. But as I mentioned, just the psychological edge. Even if you make 20, 30 seconds, it goes a long way, and it's just something that the others have to make back somewhere, and it's going to be difficult. That looks like the 15-kilometer mark, where the tech zone is, and you can see there's probably already about a 10-12 second gap to the next chasing group.
Let's see if we can pick this chasing group apart here.
It's a bit difficult from this height, but as you can see, there's gaps between all the riders here, and it's going to be difficult for them to close all the way to the line. It's just so much fast single track sections. And a cross-country team like the CFR guys, they're just going to be so fast through there that it's going to be almost impossible, I'd say, for these guys to bring it back unless they make a mistake.
And there's the rest of the pack tucking in very quickly behind them. Significantly, nobody stopping to take on extra fluid. So I'm assuming they're going to be self-sufficient over the hour.
I think they will be. It looks like someone's at a technical here. Can't really see.
In the green jersey, who is that? Somebody's working on a technical. Oh, not even 15 Ks into their Tankwa, and it doesn't look like they're working on a tire either. It looks like they've got some sort of admin.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell from that position what was going on. I don't know if he was fiddling with the linkage point on his suspension. It didn't quite look like he was plugging a tire. So maybe a bolt's worked itself out. And I'm not sure what team that was. I think there's a couple of international teams here that I haven't seen before, and it may have been one of those guys.
So let's get back with the riders at the front.
So
there's Henry and Manny
really putting down the hurt here, and Sam should maybe be looking over his shoulder and checking where his teammate is. And Ness, that is Alan behind him, but I didn't think it was. I think it may have been Maxim Marat. Unfortunately, I think the chopper's having issues with the signal a little bit, and it's a bit grainy and jumpy to make out exactly what's going on.
Just give us a read on that bit of track. That's the descent from the other side of where the watering point is.
I think they still climb a little bit, so they're still going uphill here. As you can see, they're having to work hard. And once they crest this climb, is a lot of descending back towards the line, and really, I think it'll be hard for, like I mentioned, for guys to close the gap, especially to like a Manny and Henrique, who are so good in the technical.
Man, and it's rough and natural track there. There's clumps of grass there. You don't want to be caught switching between tracks and land up in one of those clumps of grass.
No, you really need to be looking ahead and looking at what terrain's coming, both on the uphills and the downhills, but especially when it's dual track and line picky as it is here. You must just spot. You can look ahead and often spot the better line, whether there's bits of sand or rock and things like that. And you often do need to switch between one side and the next. But You don't want to be caught up in a clump of grass or some rut, more importantly, in between, if you haven't been paying attention and try and switch lanes at the wrong time.
Well, that's the same section of that narrow rock formation where we saw somebody struggling with some admin. Paul Falstad joins us at the moment, having seen the guys off a little bit earlier, just about to go and do duty on the finish line. What does it buzz down on the start line? Because we say it's a relaxed race and people are very chilled here, but they're not.
No, they weren't. Not at all. They were very tense out there. It doesn't matter how many times you race. I think ask Darren. You saw with those butterflies in your stomach. You never know what's going to happen out there in the next 4 days. No surprise watching Manny Fumek and Henri Gavancini starting off. Did you know, just as we can't get the visuals, they've both got their birthday on the same day, 30th of March.
You're kidding.
So, yeah, one's 36, the other is just 31.
Here come the ladies already. Candice and Annie look like they're on the front with Barbara Benko and Anna.
Anna Terpstra, the Dutch national. And the amazing thing about those two ladies in white is that they're riding hardtails, which virtually is impossible to believe. And I think by the end of 4 days, those backsides are going to look like coelipostorpedic cushions.
I wouldn't want to be on a hardtail at this event, to be honest. A dual sus for the win for sure.
But amazing going out there. Annie last, of course, the British national champion. She won her first World Cup last year. She is a Commonwealth champion, which she won in Cairns. And Candice Lil, you know her quite well, Darren, don't you?
Yeah,
she makes breakfast.
She makes breakfast and all our fantastic meals, actually. She really looks after us.
Can't be a lot because she's incredibly thin and looking trim at the moment.
She trains really hard, and we don't skimp on the eating. We eat a fair amount, but it's healthy food, and she puts a lot of effort in, I must say.
It looks like Dawn McCarver going down the hill there.
Yeah, that looks like Samantha Sanders.
Sam
and
Sanders.
It looks like she's waiting for Amy.
There comes Amy. Amy is a shorter one of the two. She looks like a bit of a jockey on a mountain bike. And Sam, always an incredibly strong lady, and both of them really good cross-country riders.
Yeah, both of them really good technically. I think this course would actually suit them on paper. It looks like Amy's really just struggling a bit, maybe with the heat. You know, you never really know how your body's going to respond in heat like this, especially once it pushes north of 40 degrees. And some people just handle it better than others, and it's just one of those things.
Yeah, they call that area they're going past there the wall. You can see two of our Exara boys coming through there. They really have developed into fine riders over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it looks like I'm not sure if they were the ones with a technical earlier that they're back with the ladies now. Yeah, I did see Ariane Kleinans going through with Sherry Redeker as well. So I don't know if they're sitting in about 4th or 5th place at the moment. I haven't seen footage of where they're at, so yeah, they could be in the middle ground there somewhere. But this looks like CFR has definitely taken Cannondale Factory Racing's definitely taken the race by the horns. And looking at this, they have got a decent 12-15 second gap.
And they're about to hit what we call the bobsleigh alley, 4.5 kilometers of absolutely amazing downhill. You ride in like a little riverbed. It looks like a sluit, like a bobsleigh track. And these two men from Cannondale are absolutely going to revel in that. Really, it's made for them. And as you said earlier on, once you're in that, it's going to be so hard to pass them now.
Yes, I mean, I would say technical issues aside, it's pretty clear to me that CFR should take the stage win. Like I said, unless one of them has a puncture or a major technical, but on paper it looks like they should take the stage win from here.
Well, even though it's a short stage out there, Darren, you've raced so much professionally as well. 29 kilometres in this type of heat, at that type of exertion, really takes it out of you. And replenishing your stocks tonight is going to be very, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's already starting on the bike now. You know, you've got to make sure you're drinking enough now and not losing. You can see how thick that sand is having to fight through there. Yeah, it's drinking enough, you know, before the stage today, during the stage, after the stage, and just staying hydrated. It all rolls over to the next days, and it becomes accumulative. And if you start falling behind on your nutrition, you just pay the price.
So you're starting your recovery on the bike while you're still racing.
You really are. I mean, you're eating and drinking in a stage race. You're eating and drinking for the next day already.
Then, of course, what adds to it, you know, it's going to be a fast day out there today, but it's incredibly sandy. So if you lose your concentration for a second, it is devastation out there today. It doesn't matter who you are. Henri Gavancini, the world champion, you are going to come short. So from the AA batch or UCI people right down to D batch, they're going to have to watch their eyeballs out there today, because if they don't, they'll come back with a couple of scars of the Koa Bokkerveld.
It's going to hurt. It's definitely going to hurt. And I guess you can manage that reasonably for an hour. If you're sitting out there for 3.5, 4 hours like a lot of these guys are going to be, it's a tough ask to be on your A game the whole time.
Now that's a
quick.
great visual of the pipe track, the tobogganing track out there, the sluit, as the Afrikaans guys call it. It is just phenomenal.
They burned it beautifully. I mean,
Oh, it's just, you put your front wheel in it, it's like a rail out there. And very shortly as they get down to the bottom, and they're going to take no time to get to the bottom, they're going to hit some nice downhill bridges, some great rockeries, but just all rideable. But it just is exciting. It's amazing.
Well, this has been a pretty well-kept secret until now, but I can imagine people are going to be chomping at the bit to ride this bit of track.
And as you can see, there is no chance of any of the pursuers coming back at them, because once they're around that single track, they've got clear visuals ahead of them, and they can dictate the pace, and they can stop anybody else who does catch them. And for these two guys, I think that gap is just going to grow. Don't you think so, Darren?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it is on the line. I think right now, when you go into a section like this and you've got, let's say, a 15-second lead, you want to think about riding this as smoothly as possible. And in these guys' case, obviously they're going really fast, but they're riding just within their limits to make sure they don't make a mistake. And the converse is true for the pursuers. The pursuers know they've got ground to make up, and they're trying to make it up in the technical sections if they can now, and they're going to be pushing the limits, and their chance of having a technical issue is actually higher.
Two things I've noticed. Manny Fumic has been at the head the whole way through the race so far. Enrique Avancini's been following him, even though he's a world marathon champion, and he won a World Cup in Andorra last year, so he's an outstanding cross-country rider. But Manny is such a great pacer out there, and he's obviously said, we're going to ride to my pace today. If we've got the gap and we let it grow, no need to race anymore. If you put a minute or two into our opposition, it's great. And they're probably doing around about 30, 35 kilometers an hour there. You can't really see it when you look at the visuals, but they are flying down this track.
That's what great teamwork is all about, isn't it? Somebody's got to buy into the philosophy of one and tuck in and make it work as a unit.
Well, I think Cannondale have always been really good at that. It's a real family unit. They've got a young man from the UK riding for them now, Cameron Orr. He's only 21 years old, but riding with Maxime Marot, who's also a world-class star, came fourth in the Olympics, third in the World Cup last year. So they are really great World Cup races. And this young man, Cameron Orr, I think he's got his work cut out for the next 4 days.
I think he does. I think Cameron's here to gain experience, and I know that last year Max, it was his first time he had done a stage race actually, and I think it was a bit of a shock to his system, but Max is such a solid cross-country rider, and I don't even know if he finished off the podium last year in the World Cup. I think he was between third and fourth just about every single World Cup of the season last year, and just so solid and consistent.
I think we lost the visuals on that rocky drop-off.
Well, you did.
That's the one bit they were warning people about before the stage.
Well, they do at 3 arrows, and I know Darren rode it yesterday. It actually isn't that bad. There is an incredible drop-off on your right-hand side, and if your tire does slide out, you could be using a parachute for the next couple of seconds.
And this place is littered with new bridges. It's fantastic.
It really is. They've put a lot of work into the bridges here, and just use them to tie in this natural terrain that you can see, and make it an accessible path through it. And really, it's one of the most exciting trails on the course.
Fun fair at the roller coaster, man.
Just once we lost some out there, you look at a man like Enrique Avancini, who won the World Marathon Champs last year. He is the first mountain biker to be named Athlete of the Year in Brazil, above all the soccer players. That happened last year, so it shows you that Brazil are taking on mountain biking, and they admire what he's doing. And he's an incredible guy. He's a real calypso boy, always a smile on his face. He is happily married, but I mean, he's one of the real stars, just not only on a bike, but personality-wise in the world of mountain biking.
Well,
so great to have them out here, those two.
In a sport that's dominated by Europeans and Germans in particular, to have a trailblazer from the other side of the world and getting recognition in his home country is awesome for the game.
Yeah, that's the chasing pack coming along here, but as you can see, Enrique Manny went over that little bridge quite a while back, I'd say at least 25 seconds ago. So that gap is growing at the moment. That looks like Daniel Giesmeyer there in the lead with that red outfit on. So that's Centurion Vode. Of course, he came second last year with his partner, who he's not riding with it this year. But he's a powerful rider, and you can never let him get away too quickly.
Well, there was a suggestion that nobody was going to make a move, that they were just going to go through the motions for these 30Ks, but that's not the case.
No, I think there's always a lot of pride. It's always nice to be the first champion standing on the podium after stage one. So, and they know that, a minute today is going to be hard to pace back tomorrow. Well, that gap isn't even 25 seconds. I'd probably say it's about 15 seconds now. Not even that, about 5 seconds rather.
Yeah.
I think this is between the second and third groups, or was it, actually it was hard to tell there.
Well, if we just pan back to our front group, that definitely looks like Daniel Giesmeyer there on the front. He's really turning on the afterburners. Well known in the world. He's really building up a good name. He came second in the World Marathon Championships as well. So he's a pedigree rider, not one to play around with. If he gets close to you, you know you've got a hard race on your hands.
How far in from here? Tactically, what do you have between here and the end of the stage?
You have a fair bit of pedaling. A lot of it is single track though, yeah, I'm just trying to get a gauge of what.
Yeah, this is
they've
just gone over A-frame over here. They're going along the single track next to a fence at the moment, and very, very shortly, after about another 400 meters, they're going to come to quite a steep little rocky climb, which takes you over to the top, and then it's a great single track down to the bottom again, and you do a bit of a loop around the back end of Kaleo, and then you're in. So they are sort of in the faster part of the course at the moment. The hard work and the climbing is really over at this stage.
Okay.
There we go. Wonderful visuals of this Bokkerveld. You know, harsh in summer. It is extreme in winter. They often get snow out here. But it is the deciduous basket of this country. And if you look around you, it's amazing how these amazing apple trees, orange trees, whatever they grow around here, grow. And they grow so well.
And still the after effects of the fire. It's going to be in everybody's minds and practically in the farmlands for a long time to come.
Yeah, it's just a pity that these visuals go. But doing a great job out there, connecting up with all of our signals out there, and that definitely looks like
Euro Steel guys.
Yep. So there we go, Philip Bose. I think that is Philip Bose, Matthijs Dierkes, the man who won Attakwas. He's on great form at the moment, Darren. He really has shown amazing form over the last 2 years.
Yes, Matthijs has a huge engine actually, and he's always flying in the beginning of the season. One of those, I think, few guys who really loves the Attakwas. I think everyone else goes there, and it's so early in the year they're scared of that race. But also another Dryland event and a super challenging event. But a good season opener, and Matthijs definitely dominating that the last 2 years.
And I must say, nice to see Philip Bose coming back. He had a bit of a heart scare last year and then a knee problem recently. But he looks old self, of course, multiple Olympian in this country. So Philip and him are really turning on the afterburners, and no surprise, I think they're going to be the top South African team today at the end of stage one.
I think they walked away from last year's race with such a rush of confidence as well that they knew they could be good here. And it's nice to see them coming in with such a spring in their step and asserting themselves.
Yeah, it really is a confidence builder going through today. You can see it's very open, but that's still all. Well, now they've got into the Jeep track again. They've just exited one of the many single tracks out there. And for single track, those people out there who aren't quite sure what that is, it's just a path that runs the veld here, the veld being the bush.
So as you can see, the CFR guys are still ahead, and it looks like that gap's about 25 or 30 seconds, possibly even a bit more, because I think they're on a bit of a climb there.
Yeah, that's that horrible little climb that takes you up there. It really is no air in there. It sucks it out of you as you go up this little hill. It's very rocky, and the visuals don't actually do it justice, but that is one, as I'd say in mountain biking, one mother of a hill.
Yes, as you can see, the gap's starting to form properly now. Yeah. CFR definitely have extended their lead. I would say it's close to 40 seconds now, and struggling to see who's in third place here.
Yeah, and it's not just time. You're actually out of sight. That's the disarming thing. You don't know just how far people have got away from you.
That I think is the CFR2 team with Maxim and
that is Maxime Marot and Cameron Orr, the 21-year-old from the UK. So they're doing a great ride. I mean, Cameron Orr at this stage must be thinking, what is going on? That definitely is Maxime Marot. He's been the French champion several times over already, and as we said earlier, on third in the World Cup last year on points, and fourth at the Olympics. So that's not a bad pedigree.
Yeah.
I must say I'm very impressed with young Cameron Orr at only 21, his first visit to this country, and he must be thinking, I'm in heaven. I'm hanging on to one of the best mountain bikers in the world.
Yeah.
And I think Cannondale have always been good at choosing their young crop of riders, and just looking at him at the moment, this is our first real visuals of him. This young man's got a huge future.
And there's a good idea of just how far that gap back to the front.
Now, once they go over the top out here, there's a bit of single track taking them right down back into the valley again, which is exceptionally quick. I don't think that gap will get any narrow at all. And then you do a quick loop around, and then you go over your last A fence, and it's very fast all the way home then. So it should be, I'd say, another, at the most, Darren, about another 20 minutes, if not a bit less,
No,
for them to be
it'll
home.
be less. I'd say 12 to 15 minutes. Still quite a lot of pedaling, but these trails get quite a bit faster in the next little while. Fairly flat pedaling single track, but they're going to carry a lot of speed, these guys, and they're going to eat up the terrain quickly.
The disconcerting thing about these top riders is they go faster up the hill than most riders go down the hill. So, you know, they look like an e-bike the way they go up and down these hills, and it is just so consistent with no mistakes in it. So that's why they're world class. You know, it doesn't really come as a surprise to me. Albin Lakota and Carl Platt, men who need no introduction. Albin Lakota, 3 times marathon world champion. Carl Platt, 5 times Epic champion. He's won here before. He knows the trails. I think for them it's more acclimatization. They're 39 and 40 years old, and realistically they have not got the pace of these young cross-country riders. I think their turn is going to come tomorrow in the next 3 days. The longer stages, the harder stages, but today it is about limiting losses for them.
Do you think that's the chatter? Let them go. We race our race. We've got a plan. Stick
I think
to it.
so. I'm just amazed Urs Huber and Simon Steepjohn aren't closer to the leaders. They might be at this stage. We can't see everything. But that's definitely Maxime Marot. And no, it isn't. That's Manny Fumic. That's our leaders. Now, Henri Cavancini, for the first time, has taken the lead out of the two. So I think Manny said, listen, I've done my work.
Yeah.
You can now give me a bit of air behind you.
No, they're really working well together and making it count. And you know, even though the time gaps aren't going to be massive, if they take 40-45 seconds, it's a lot for such a short stage, and it's something that's going to be difficult to turn around. As you can see, the second and third teams have actually come together here, so there's going to be quite a big dice for second.
Well, that looks like Centurion Vode riding there at the moment, yes, with CFR, well, Cannondale Racing second team. So that is going to be, I could see possible 1-2 out here for Cannondale today.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. I think it'll be difficult to overtake anywhere between here and the line, but anything's possible. I think at this point, CFR2 will just be happy to be close to their number one team, and it's just a good sign of form for them as well. And in the next couple of days, they'll be able to stay close enough to be quick with a backup wheel or something like that if Manny or Henrik needs one.
Just such rad images of the moonscape that is the Koa Bokkerveld, and it's just so nice to be able to bring these images to somebody sitting at their home in Germany, Austria, Holland, Brazil, and to be able to say, yeah, we're going to do it for every 4 days of this year's.
I can imagine sitting somewhere in Europe in the snow and having a look at these images, and it make you probably want to climb on the next flight over.
Well, that's exactly what we want, isn't it? And there we have a look. Our first local team out there, Philip Boos, Matthijs Bierkes from Piger Eurosteel. And I think sitting right behind them there is Nicola Robach and Connie Luzer from Silverback Pro.
I think you're right.
I think they are right on their back wheel there. Now, those are two very dangerous men. Both of them from Switzerland. We know that is absolutely mountain biking mad. And these two men have got huge pedigrees. So if they stay ahead of them, that is going to be a great result for our two local lads.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell whether. I think they were maybe sitting in about 5th position there. It's difficult to tell from the way the footage was going back and forth. And there we also just caught a look at the first image we had of the Bulls guys, and it looked like it was Carl and
Albin.
Well, Albin, funny enough, he likes to come out here. He's got an allergy towards dust, and if you want to get over that, you come to the Koa Bokkerveld and you come to the Momentum Health Tankwa Trek presented by Biogen. There's lots of dust out here. And I think this is one of the ways he's trying to get himself acclimatized to it. Carl, funny enough, he was born in Russia, but he loves the heat. So he's feeling totally at home here. But Albin is a man who's feeling his way through today's stage.
Oh, it's going to be a fascinating 4 days racing.
So this is actually looking good. It looks like Piger Eurosteel is actually moving back up on the teams in 2nd and 3rd. So they're sitting in 4th at the moment, and they look like they're closing the gap. So looking good for them at the moment, and they're definitely Carl and Albin.
Yeah. Let's unpack who the rest of that bunch is. So probably about 10 minutes to go to get into the finish here. They come into that last loop and then down to the finish. And crucially, places are going to count, but time is going to be critical at this stage. I honestly didn't expect them to be that strung out over a sub 1 hour ride.
I think at the moment, Dave, you can't win this 4-day event today. but you can put the gaps up already. So, you know, the harder days are still coming. Today is sort of like the hors d'oeuvres. It is time, but it's psychologically obviously a huge advantage for these boys to be on top of the podium today. And even if it's 30 seconds, that will be great.
Yeah, exciting time. Now onto the road, but there's nobody overtaking at this stage. This is now just fast down to the finish.
This is a very fast downhill section, and as you can see, it was about to become single track. There, the leaders up ahead, so they've already gone over that last A-frame and taken the left. The other guys, yeah, I've got to say that's a good 40-45 seconds.
Now, you know, these guys are very blasé about these A-frames, but if you don't approach them at speed, devastation will occur very, very quickly. Speed is your friend in mountain biking, and definitely these A-frames, you've got to approach them at speed and go over them at speed.
Hesitation is devastation.
That's the way. Thank you. You corrected me out there, Dave.
I've done it.
Bit of a climb as they come back here. Real good teamwork going on. Turning around, seeing where your partner is.
So you can definitely see that Philip and Matthijs have actually closed the gap to the second and third team. So it's going to be a big fight for the minor steps of the podium in today's stage.
And I think barring any unforeseen mechanical problems out there, I think Cannondale first team, Manny Funick and his great partner Enrique are going to be first across the line today. Enrique Avancini from Brazil. But I think second and third, Darren, is going to be a bunch sprint coming up the chute here.
It really will. It's going to be quite exciting to see them come around this final turn and hit this thick grass. And it's, I know from personal experience, it stops you dead, and it can be a big fight up the final 100 meters to the line.
But as a statement of intent, if you're going to take any psychological advantage out of stage one, Cannondale are grinning.
Oh, look at that. This is virtually at sort of 25 Ks done, and there's a whole peloton of mountain bikers. And what more can you want as a promoter of this event than to watch the best in the world coming home together like this? They're trying to get on the back desperately, these two.
We're back at the front now. If we can, love to get a glance back over his shoulder just to see what that gap is now.
I wonder if that isn't our second South African team. That could be Imbuko Giant, which would be Marco Joubert. And his teammates out there, they've got a very, very good team.
It would be nice if they cut back to the ladies' race every now and then, so I don't sit here so nervously wondering how Candice is doing.
Well, listen, Darren, I don't think you really have to worry out there. The class cross-country people are Annie Last, and of course Darren Lil's wife out there, Candice. You know, one of the top under 23 racing girls in her day, and a great Olympian as well. So I think today is their day. If they're going to get on the podium, today will definitely be the one. In fact, I'll bet my house on them. So if they don't come first, it could be a very cold night for my family.
Well, the point was good. I mean, they started the ladies literally 3 minutes behind the men. The intention being is that they should get into the finish pretty soon after Ben, and there wouldn't be any men getting in the way, bar that a few guys have had technical issues.
Yeah, they're across the road now, and they're actually winding their way towards Kaleo back again. So they're on very, very quick single track. They'll go through a riverbed shortly. But that winning time of around about 50 minutes, we always knew was a bit optimistic.
Very optimistic.
But they are on the dirt road already, so these two... Enrique Avancini is in the lead out there, Manny Funick behind him. But second, third and fourth is going to be tremendously close.
I mean, based on a brief hour of watching them through the glimpses we have, that team is looking, it's like a well-oiled machine at the moment.
They really are. I mean, they've got a lot of hours under the belt together, a lot of stage race experience, and you know, very similar riders, very balanced team. You know, in the technical, the climbing, the everything, and you know, the combination of that and getting along well with each other is a recipe for success. And as we've seen the last couple of epics as well, you know, they've really knocked on that door, and you know, hopefully this is a good year for them.
Yeah, it's a friendship across all the barriers you can imagine. It's actually a cool celebration of what mountain biking is all about. So down to the finish they come. I imagine the team's going to be sitting waiting to get into recovery mode straight away. Get them out of the heat, get them off the bike, get them...
Yes, I mean, they're going to cross the line here and come straight into this winner's lounge area and grab the coldest bottle they can find and a wet towel, and there's going to be some hot bodies coming through the door soon.
And I did look at the weather forecast. It says it's going to be pretty much same again tomorrow.
Sure, I haven't looked lately, but at least tomorrow's an early start, and
Yeah.
okay, for the front runners, they're going to be in before the heat. For the back markers, well, they're going to be in for a long, tough day out there.
So through the arid farmlands back down to Kaleo. And it's been literally a two-horse race at the front, one team affair. They're going to be chuffed as hell to be able to get down. You must realize that, I mean, there's nothing's going to happen between now and the finish. I mean, there must be a moment to actually soak up and celebrate a great day at the office.
For sure. I mean, they're going to know now that they've got it in the bag, and going to be able to savor the moment coming across the line. And I think for them, they've won a lot of races together, and I don't know what this would rank for in their Palmares, but they're going to enjoy it either way. And I think just know that their training's gone well up until this point, and it's a good marker on the road to Epic for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, how many yellow jerseys are sitting in those cupboards at home? I mean, it's a lot.
So yeah, we've got the ladies. I don't know if this is the first team that we're seeing out, but it looks like it's Barbara Benko and Annie Terpstra.
Now, context. Where's the rest of this bunch? Looking so smooth over the rocks.
They are, and I mean, they're on hardtails. They're doing really well to make it look that smooth on those hardtails. I think the one thing in their favour today is that white kit's keeping them a lot cooler.
Yeah, absolutely right. Smooth is fast when you're going over rocks like this. I mean, it's an art to be able to be fast over rocky terrain like this.
It definitely is. It's especially riding a hardtail. It takes a lot of skill to be smooth and make it look smooth. A lot of guys just ride dual suspensions these days, and you jump on a hardtail and go and ride on terrain like this, you realise quickly all the little mistakes you're actually making.
So that's the finish scene here at Kaleo. We're expecting the leading team in here at the moment. Great day for the Cannondale guys. Could not possibly dream of a better start to the competition than that, and Paul's down at the finish line ready to get them in. And once they've caught their breath, they can give us what I think is going to be a flawless report back from day one. I mean, they really couldn't have asked for very much. Yes, they're not going to break the hour, but they've drawn a line in the sand, which is exactly what you want at the start of a 4-day race.
They certainly have. I'm trying to see what's happening behind here.
It's hard to tell because there were two of the Bulls jerseys in there as well, so it's hard to tell what bunch that was. But looking forward to being able to welcome leaders of our brand new Stage 1.
Yeah, they should be crossing the line in the next minute or so. There's quite a neat little single track, actually, like 600 meters from the line along the river, a new one that they've built. And yeah, quite a fun little piece. And then they're going to hit a sharp right and then a final left coming up to the line here.
And I must admit, the cool thing for me is that way back in D-Batch were the guys that actually built these trails. They've spent the last year out here in the cold of the winter with a shovel moving rocks, trying to clear this into a raceable competition track. And they're out at the back trying to stay on their bikes as well, which is kind of cool. I mean, it works at a whole bunch of layers.
No, it really does. And they've really got the flow right and the balance between what's good and what's not.
So lead bikes in the house, which means our leaders are not going to be very far away from getting into the finish here at Kaleo. The significant thing will be to actually get a gauge on time. We'll get an official time a little bit later, but run a mental stopwatch and just see what sort of a gap they've managed to bank, because what looked like it was going to be a visual gap turned out to be anything but, because they drove a wedge between themselves and the rest of this world-class field. Here they come down to the finish. The Cannondale colours whizzing round. They're going to come down to the line together. Hands, claim it. Happy Manny, look at that. Beaming like a cat that's found the milk.
No, that's awesome.
What a great day at the office. Now, you've got the stopwatch going.
I do.
Now, let's have a look at this.
It's going to be interesting to see whether they manage to keep pulling time on the rest of the guys all the way to the line. And also, I think it's going to be a really exciting sprint finish between the next three teams for the minor spots on the podium.
Yeah. If you had offered them a minute going into stage 2, they would have taken it with outstretched arms, and they're not far away from it at the moment. We're on 35 seconds of that gap at the moment. I think if he could jump into that bath, he would. I think
they-
protocol
I
is just
think they
keeping on.
would. Manny's just embracing the ice there properly.
Yeah. Yeah, very uncool race village protocol to jump into the bath. So,
And mess it up for all the...
but we talked about the recovery process. It's wet towels. It's getting the fluids back inside there, and everybody's got a different recovery protocol. So,
The most important is getting the core temperature down, and the way to do that is swallowing cold fluids and cold water on the neck and towels and things. I've already got over a minute here on the stopwatch, so they definitely carried on pulling time all the way to the line on terrain that suited them. I mean, this is a big gap for a short stage.
Manny's down at the line watching. I think he actually can't believe how much time he's got in the bank at this stage in the game.
No, smiling as always. Okay, here we go. Here comes. It's actually not a sprint as much as I thought it would be.
And here we go. The second bunch is coming in. The talk a minute 40. A minute 40. That's
40.
the lead. Oh, that is dream come true.
Looks like we've
There's
got,
Sam Gage coming in with Alan Hatterley, the Piger Eurosteel guys.
in fourth.
Matthijs.
So the rest of the team's really close. I think we're in for a very exciting next 3 days of racing. Not over by any stretch of the imagination. Minute 40 for Cannondale Factory, very big gap for such a short, quick stage, but not insurmountable. And these four teams nipping on their heels at the same time.
Yeah, and there was nothing about going through the motions today. It started out
No.
that way, but when the Cannondale gauntlet was thrown down, they made it stick.
Yeah, and now we'll see a lot more teams coming in closer together. The gap should be fairly close. I mean, here comes another 4 or 5 teams with Bulls, and it looks like NAD possibly as well.
Yeah, Ned's in there.
There's Javi Combrink, and I guess you didn't check who was riding with who, and Vessel, Javi and Vessel.
Now we can start wondering about where the lead women are as well, because they started 2 or 3 minutes behind over the hour. They won't be that
They'll
far
be
off.
quite a bit slower. We're getting footage of the Ghost team here with Barbara, and so that could be an indication that they're in the lead.
Yep.
They're looking like they're going really well at the moment.
Surprised?
No, they're a really solid team, good cross-country riders, and I definitely had them down on the threat list.
Mariska Strauss, Jenny Senehag, I hoped would be more of a presence early on, but I don't think they need to be.
Look, I mean, they wouldn't want to be losing time if they could help it.
Yeah.
But someone like Jenny definitely more suited to days like tomorrow and Marino and things like that than today's short, fast stage.
So from a rider's point of view, it's 3 days now morphed into 4 days of racing, but the cool thing now is it's recovery. You get into the finisher at Kaleo, and the hospitality, not just from the locals, but from the infrastructure that Dryland rolls out here, it really does make it something special, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, the atmosphere at these race villages and that is one of the most important factors of an event, you know. It's right up there with having great trails and great food.
Is that what the overseas guys are saying as well? I mean, when you go and race elsewhere, it's not quite the same, is it? Or am I being a bit insular?
You know, every event's got a different feel to it, and you know, there's I guess no right or wrong. It just depends on what you prefer as you know, as the athlete or the person that's riding the event. So I guess different things appeal to different people, but this event definitely seems to have hit the nail on the head in a lot of aspects that I don't know many people who don't love it.
Nico, Matt Beers?
Yeah, Nico and Matt look like they just crossed the line. I know Nico that would have probably struggled a bit with this kind of speed. Much more suited to longer endurance kind of things, and probably really fast start for them, and difficult to stay in touch.
Give me a sense of what the girls' strategy and planning going into a stage is like, particularly with the unknowns that Candice is having to deal with here. I guess you have to be flexible to be successful, but how much planning goes into this?
It's a lot of planning, a lot of effort. You know, both on and off the bike. You know, you put so much training in, and intervals, and diet, and equipment, and you know, a whole number of things. And you know, then coming to an event like this where you end up riding with someone you haven't raced with before, you're never quite sure like how it's going to unfold. or you get thrown a curveball like this morning with Annie's brake giving her issues on the way to the start, literally. And who knows, what might happen out on course, and it's how you deal with it, and your communication as a team, and looking after your partner, and one day you might be having a bad day, and the next day the roles might be reversed, and it's how you treat each other and how you get the best out of the team that counts at the end of especially at the end of a stage race.
Yeah, I guess those champion days are not necessarily the most successful days. If you get thrown a total curveball, whether you crash a bike or land up at the technical, but you've really managed it well, you've come back, you've kept your head well, you've recovered, rejigged your game plan, and it's been a successful day, even though you not necessarily want to be at the leaderboard where you want to be, but maybe those are the great days, eh?
Yeah, definitely. It's I think you just learn so much through the way you learn is actually when things go wrong. Like that's those are the character building days, and those are the days that you figure out whether you can or can't race with someone, or how to fix a technical out on course and make a plan and pick yourself up again afterwards. That's almost more challenging than winning. Winning's great, and winning's obviously not easy. Like, it's hard to win, but it's it's easy to get along well and be all smiles and joyful when you cross the line in first place. But if stuff's gone wrong and the race has thrown you curveballs, or you've had to make a plan and you had to lose like in half an hour or whatever, that's the character building stuff, and how you handle, especially like post-race interviews and things like that. Like, you might cross the line feeling so demoralized or frustrated with what's happened, and you got to
be mature about
it and be mature about it, and you might not want to speak to the guy shoving a mic in your face, but you have to, and make the most of it.
So more of the men pouring home. The thing about technicals is if you knew what was going to go wrong and you could pre-plan for that, maybe your response time would be good, but you never know what's going wrong. Some guys are naturally gifted at it, and some guys just cannot adapt to a technical problem. It's just, some guys I think are naturally predisposed, they're wired that way, and some guys, it's always going to be a challenge.
No, definitely. It always helps if at least one person on the team has a bit of technical knowledge, and it's also one of the reasons why you should never be too far away from your teammates, so that you're always able to help them. If you're the stronger person technically, it doesn't help if you leave the other guy behind, and then he gets a technical or something, and next thing you're like 2 minutes up the road before you realize he's actually pulled off on the side of the road, and it's going to cost you a lot of time in the end if you make mistakes like that.
In your experience, the best technician?
I'd say I was fortunate to race with Waylon, and we were very good, both of us technically, in terms of like fixing things on the go. I think in the one epic, someone happened to be filming where we broke a chain and fixed the chain, I think in 47 seconds according to the video, between us, and we didn't have to communicate, we both just knew what to do when, and if someone needs to hold the bike and the other guy's going to put the chain links in and things like that, and the other guy moves the derailleur hanger forward, things like we just worked well as a team like that, and we're both competent with plugging tires and doing things properly, so we never really had issues like that.
And the one person that you would hate to have a technical on your team? I mean, there's a chance to have a go at somebody here.
No, I don't know.
The struggler. Now we can start looking forward to the girls coming in.
Yeah, they shouldn't be too much longer, maybe another 5 minutes or so. It would be very nice if we would actually get some visuals of them out on course, so we could see what's happening.
It does look like, from the images we've had so far, it's going to be the white ghost shirts that'll be first into the finish chute.
It was looking like that, and the last we'd seen before that, Candice and Annie had been on the front, so I'm wondering if they perhaps had a technical. I hope not, and that's not great for me to be sitting here worrying about that. But it's out of my control, and they've got to just make the best of it if they have, and. Yeah.
Let's assume the chopper guys got it right. A great start for the Dutch girls, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, look, Barbara's from Hungary actually, but they're a great pairing. They've done a number of stage races together last year. One of them being Epic Israel, which I think is really a rough, rocky race, and they're used to the terrain and know each other well. And by all accounts, it looks like they're off to a flying start.
How critical is the countdown between now and Epic?
There's enough time for you to adapt and make some changes, but
Your
you know,
base is away.
you have to have ticked most of the boxes by now. You know, if you're at a certain level now, you can't think that come Epic you're going to be, 10% better than you are here. The time frame's too short for that.
So this is largely dress rehearsal stuff, I guess. The confidence builders.
It really is. I can hear a motorbike, which is possibly the lead motorbike for the ladies.
It is indeed. So let's keep an eye out for who's going to be first into that chute. Just a welcome once again if you have just joined us. This is the end of stage 1, the brand new stage 1 of our Momentum Health Tankwa Trek presented by Biogen. We're going to be streaming it every day, despite the technical challenges of being literally on the other side of nowhere here. I mean, a big hats off to the Big Shot media team. They're pulling a rabbit out of a hat by being able to do this. They're really playing out of their boots.
They really are. I think it's a real challenge to get the live streaming up and signals and bouncing everything back and forth out here. There's pretty much are in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and chopper pilots for keeping the bird in the sky in 42, 43 degree heat. Full respect to them as well. So mentally going into the next 3 days, the stage 2, 3 and 4, the old stage 1, 2 and 3. Stage 2 I think is the physical killer. But I mean, how do you go through preparing those to get through yourself all 3 successfully?
It depends on what your goals are, I guess. For the racing guys, they just taking it day by day and giving everything they can each day and racing the race as it unfolds.
Hey, here we go.
Paul
down to the line. Oh, come on, you got the opportunity to call them in style here.
Sorry, I'm too busy listening to Paul commenting. So there we've got the guys' goals with Barbara Benko and Anna Terpstra taking the stage. Looks like they've had a really solid ride, and we can't see anyone for the next little while.
Both looking over their shoulders, so I don't think there was much in it at this stage.
Yeah,
big hugs and big smiles.
I'm trying to have a look down. It looks like we've got another team coming in now. That looks like Mariska Strauss and it's Annie and Candice.
Here we go.
Yeah, I got that properly wrong. Okay, so here comes Annie and Candice. So the gap is looking at 45 seconds. So I'm not sure if they had an issue, but looking at Candice, I think she struggled.
Well, Annie was the one to put a big pat on the back there, so it gives you a sense of where the work's been done in the last 15 or 20 minutes, I guess.
No, I think it looks like Annie did the lion's share of the work there, and Candice is looking like she struggled.
45 seconds in context of the race?
45 seconds, there's nothing in it. I think it's all to race for. Looks like the gap to third is going to be more than another 45 seconds. I think looks like Candice has really struggled with the heat today, but tomorrow's another day, and a lot of hard racing. I think good racing between these ladies still to come. It's going to be good, exciting stuff.
Well, she's doing it all right, getting the fluids in. And we did say there were 5 or at least 6 teams that were going to be competitive over the 4 days of this women's race.
Yeah, so there should be. And I wonder if this is another ladies' team. No. It looks like the gap's pretty big to third at the moment. I think third place last I saw would be Mariska Strauss and Jenny Stenehag. And I'm surprised that the gap's as big as it is right now.
Yeah. I guess when you finally come around the straight to see that big Momentum M, that rest is... long overdue rest is finally around the corner. It's quite a stark contrast having ridden through this. I called it a moonscape a little bit earlier, but that's what it is. And you suddenly come around the corner and see all the branding and the banners and hear the noise and the music and smell the food.
The thick green grass, because there's no other thick green grass out there, anything like this finish line stretch. And like I said, you come around this corner and the grass feels like it stops you dead. It really does. Okay, here we have Jenny Stenehag, followed by Mariska. It looks like Mariska was the one taking a bit of strain. Jenny looked like she was on the front most of the way, and you can see even there's a small gap here between them. So Mariska not having a great day today either. And like I mentioned earlier, the heat really affects some people more than others. And It's by no means an indication of how these riders might perform tomorrow. Early morning start and cooler conditions. I think this was quite a shock to the system for many. And yeah, we have the fourth place team already, Ariane and Sherry Riedeke, followed closely by the Exara team.
So first blows traded in this competition. So yeah. So what's going to happen over the next few minutes? Big thanks to Darren having pre-written this course. He just gave us eyes and ears that we desperately needed today. So big thanks to Darren. He's been an absolute rock star today. What's going to happen over the next few minutes is as soon as we've clarified those positions and time. The Koa Bokkerveld is that when it starts cooking on the rocks here, that heat manages to persist and linger late into the afternoon and to the early evening. So shade and cold liquid is coming at a fat premium at this stage in the game. In a minute or two's time we'll be able to take you through the podium presentation formalities, catch up with the leading men and the leading women, and then draw down the curtain on stage one of this year's Momentum Health Tankwa Trek presented by Biogen. So altitude and heat. You see the Exara rider in the background there sucking oxygen. Really does place huge demands on the body. But it's been a fascinating first stage. So in a few moments time we'll take you through the podium presentation formalities, a few words from the leading men and the leading women, and we can call it a day for day one of our Momentum Health Tankwa Trek presented by Biogen 2019. 7th edition of this race out here in what we call the Koa Bokkerveld, but it has been blisteringly hot today. It's been an absolute scorcher down here in the Klein Karoo. Riders can now look forward to the hospitality of the race village. The team from Dryland do a fantastic job, along with a large collection of partners. Some of the partners are local food suppliers, and the locals here are very passionate about making sure that the hospitality is one of the lingering memories that the riders take away with them, whether they felt. If you're looking at a map, Ham's also a prized delicacy in this region, but most of all, this is a farming area where fruit is a prized commodity as well. It's you heard Paul earlier talking about it being the fruit basket of the country, and they do an incredible job in really tough agricultural conditions in turning out absolutely beautiful fruit and vegetables and strawberries, pineapples, potatoes, you name it. All comes out of this agricultural gold mine down here in the Koa Bokkerveld. So Paul will take you through the podium formalities in a couple of minutes time. I'm going to ask Paul for his opinion on what has happened today, because I think everybody was mildly surprised when we saw almost 2 minutes being hammered between the rest of the field by the Cannondale boys, who have not stopped grinning. I've been watching them for the last couple of minutes. They've not stopped grinning since they've started catching their breath.
Dave, you know what's really amazing about this race is after about 20 kilometers, they only had about 25 seconds, and then it suddenly exploded, that time gap. And I think they really rode to a plan today. They let them see them, they literally let them smell them going up the hill, and then they turn on the afterburners, you know. And as you said, a gap of 2 minutes, over 2 minutes on this course is just phenomenal. And now it's suddenly become, from a psychological gap, it's actually become a meaningful gap.
There was a moment in today's stage when Henri looked over his shoulder at the top of a climb and then looked and looked again, and I think he couldn't believe what they were doing, and he said, right, we're going to make it stick. We're going to make this hurt and count and really draw a line in the sand.
Yeah, and I think they've done that. Really, if I look at the men behind them, they had an exhausted look about them. They'd been racing one another, and I think where they lost it a bit was they started using road riding tactics. They were watching one another for second, third and fourth place, and I think they actually slowed down to their detriment. So, you know, once out of sight, out of mind, and then they start thinking of second and third places on the podium is better than fourth or fifth. So let's watch one another.
That's such a good point. The Parker Euroseal guys were caught right in the middle of that.
They were. And you know what? Once you're in that last single track, it really is so hard to separate yourselves, or even to pass, because there is no passing. It is so thin and single. So hard going, and I think they've all learned today. Use your brains out there. Cannondale Factory Racing Team, Manny Fumek and Henri Cavancini rode this like copybook. You couldn't have scripted it better.
Yeah.
And they're going in there with over a 2-minute lead tomorrow. And that's a big gap to close. Even in a 93-kilometer stage against that quality, it's going to be a hard run.
Well, Paul, it's going to be your pleasure to be able to call him up onto the podium now and do the honours, dish out those yellow and pink jerseys. It's going to take a couple of minutes, but it's been a fantastic first stage. First stage, I mean, it's going to be hard not to see this as a fantastic first stage in this race now.
No, it is. And we can watch our ladies in there at the moment. They're still glugging down that ice-cold water. I think what's really exciting to me, the back there of Jenny Slinnerhag in her new Fair Tree colours. Yep. What's really exciting to me is that the live coverage under really trying conditions today has been excellent, and I'm really looking forward to the next 3 days. I hope all of our people overseas watching it on Facebook, etc., have had a ball watching their loved ones and their champions and heroes riding here in Africa. And it really has been a magnificent day. You know, we couldn't have wanted a better day to start off this amazing Momentum Health Tankwa presented by Biogen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tomorrow is a tough day because it's close on 90Ks. We're not going to stream the entire day. So what I'm really encouraging you to do, whether you're watching this on the YouTube channel, or you're watching it on Facebook, or if you joined this through the dots in one of the teams or one of the riders' profiles, please keep an eye out for tomorrow, and we'll give you exact details of when the live stream is going to start and when we're actually going to sort of call it down. It'll probably be in the second half of the day, but Paul, I'm with you 100%. If they can deliver visuals like this, I'm happy to sit and watch them for 4 hours. No problem.
There we got our Exara boys, and they are far from development riders nowadays. They're fully fledged racers. They really have come to the party, and it is so good seeing them right up there with the top ranks in the pros. So Exara, well done.
Okay, presentation time now. The elite men have had plenty of time to catch their breath. The ladies, I'm afraid, will have had time to just clean themselves up. They've got a towel, and it's an opportunity to call the leading men up now. We've got to go and hand over the men's leading yellow jerseys. The ladies are going to be racing in pink jerseys, as is the norm here. But time to do the honours. Such a treat to have Paul Falstar and Darren Lill helping us out today. Massive resource of experience to be able to talk it through, and the fact that both of them have just ridden today's course made it just absolutely invaluable to us to be able to get that inside advanced track on what was going on. So if you're sitting in a nice chilly chalet in Switzerland, if you're sitting in your flat in Amsterdam, if you're sitting somewhere in icy London, we've seen the pictures of how bad the snow's been there over the last couple of days. Welcome to Africa. It's 42, 43 degrees at 4 o'clock in the afternoon here. We call it the Koa Bokkerveld. It's anything but that at the moment. It's been blisteringly hot in terms of the weather. It's been just as hot in terms of the racing that happened today. So it's been a fantastic saber-rattling first stage of our Momentum Health Tankwa Trek presented by Biogen. So, podium presentation time. Paul Falstar will take you through that.
One of the Momentum Health Tankwa Trek presented by Biogen. To all of our top world-class racers, they really turned on the style today. And in third place from Cannondale Factory Racing Team, it is Maxime Marot from France, and from the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland, we have got the young 21-year-old Cameron Orr. Second place, and what a tremendous ride they did. We expected big things from them. From
so
Team
Maxime and Cameron
Specialized,
picking up
the
the third place.
under-23 past under-23 world champion and the current under-23
What a
world
day for
champion.
Cameron.
Sam Gaze from New Zealand riding with Alan Hathley, our very own South African world champion. A tremendous ride up into second place on this, the 29-kilometer stage one. And a very hot stage one at 41 degrees. But absolute champions out there. They really rode an intelligent race from the front. They were never headed from Cannondale Factory Racing #1 team. The German multiple champion and Olympian Manny Fumek, riding with the world marathon champion Henri Cavancini from Brazil. So from Damien McHugh, thank you very, very much from Momentum Health, handing out the flowers, which he's used to. And the yellow jerseys going out there to Manny Fumek and, of course, his partner Henri Cavancini from Brazil. Canadell Factory Racing with over a 2-minute buffer going into stage 2 tomorrow. They must be very happy with that result.
Enrique and Manny having thoroughly enjoyed their day.
Fourth at the Olympians, third in the World Cup last year. Been an outstanding ride by his young partner, Cameron Orr, at 21. A real revelation to us for the first time. So there we go, our top 3 on stage 1. A tremendous ride out there. 2 of the Canadell Factory Racing teams in 3rd and 1st. The sandwich in the middle are Specialized Boys, great riding, Alan Hathley. And of course, his partner out there, Sam Gaze.
So there's the men's podium, all handed out. And it must be said that Enrique and Manny both looking so relaxed, so comfortable as they have been all day. And we wondered about how that team would click. Well, it clicked spectacularly well. There was that moment when that 20-second lead suddenly ballooned out to 45 and then mushroomed to the other side of a minute, where I think if they were to look at the successes of today, apart from the fact that they rode the technically demanding section of the 30Ks really well, they'll look back at that as an opportunity where they really lay down a marker for the rest of the elite men. If you want to catch us, you're going to have to be able to match us on those moments where leads just balloon out, mushroom out of control.
Marathon champ together with our cross-country champion Mariska Strauss. Well done, ladies. A hard-fought race in 2nd place overall. They led for 90% of the race, but then mechanicals always play a part in this hard racing in the Bokkerveld. Team number 2 from Team Summit, Annie Last, the Commonwealth champion, riding with Candice Lill, our cross-country lady and Olympian. But our number 1 team today, and what an incredible ride on hardtails, no rear suspension. Our ladies from Ghost Factory Racing Team, the multiple Hungarian champion Barbara Benko, riding with the Dutch cross-country champion Anna Terpstra. A tremendous ride in the Ghost Factory Racing colours. So we look forward to the next 3 days on a hardtail by a Ghost Factory Racing team. So there we go, in 3rd place overall, Jenny Senahog, Mariska Strauss, Silverback Fairtree. 2nd going to our team from Team Summit, Annie Last and Candice Lill. And the happiest ladies in the middle out there, the European mixture, Barbara Benko from Hungary and Anna Terpstra from the Netherlands. A tremendous 1st place for Ghost Factory Racing. Wearing our pink jerseys out there. Anderson Transport, of course, are sponsors of that great ladies' prize after 4 days. Thank you very much, ladies, and to all of our girls, a great, great ride tomorrow.
Well, thanks everybody, and that's going to bring down the curtain on stage 1 of our Momentum Health Tankwa Trek presented by Biogen. First time ever in the 7-year history of a race that we've had a Thursday stage, now stage 1 of 4, 29 kilometers, but it turned out to be an absolute belter, an appetizer, a taste of what you're going to expect. Some tough climbs, some incredible sweeping descents through the forest, through the farmlands, some jeep track through the farm roads, sweeping past the dams that are the lifeblood of this country, and now we move into stage 2 tomorrow. But stage 2, we head into the Witzenberg. Things get tough. The distance is going to treble. It's going to be close on 90 kilometers, and there are some proper technical demands. The nature of the race will change tomorrow. Those that go to bed with the yellow jerseys and the pink jerseys will do so with pride, but it counts for very little because the proper racing at this year's Momentum Health Tankwa Trek presented by Biogen is about to start. We'll see you tomorrow. Keep an eye on the YouTube channel. Keep an eye on the Facebook page. You'll see details about when this live stream will start tomorrow. The racing is going to be starting tomorrow morning bright and early at 6:30. The live stream won't necessarily, but please keep a close eye on the YouTube channel. and for the Facebook page for the time when the live stream will start. We'll be joining our commentary team of Paul Felstar, Darren Lill, and myself, Dave McLeod, to take you through day 2. Until then, from wherever you've been watching, everywhere in the world, thanks for your company. From Bacalio, good night.